Welcome to the Invite Health podcast, where our degreed healthcare professionals are excited to offer you the most important health and wellness information you need to make informed choices about your health. You can learn more about the products discussed in each of these episodes and all that Invite Health has to offer at www.invitehealth.com/podcast. First-time customers can use promo code podcast at checkout for an additional 15% off your first purchase. Let's get started.
There's a nutrient found in your brain called phosphatidylserine. It's very important for the health of the brain, the way the brain functions, and for your memory and the ability to learn. Unfortunately, the level of phosphatidylserine declines in the brain with age, but not to fear. You can take it as a supplement and put it back in there. And the research is showing that giving people about 300 milligrams of phosphatidylserine every morning with their breakfast restores about 15 years worth of lost memory functions, which is clearly a benefit. And it's an extremely safe supplement. So here's a quick study on it. It's a study of older people who qualified for the study because they had memory issues. And their memory issues were beyond what you'd normally see in a healthy older person. So they gave them phosphatidylserine every morning for 12 weeks with their breakfast. You take it with food. They took 300 milligrams a day versus placebo, a fake pill. And the ability to learn improved. It restored memory functions. It was easier to remember names and phones and events. Welcome to our episode, Phosphatidylserine for Memory and Brain Health. Hi, my name is Jerry Hickey. I want to thank you for tuning into today's Invite Health podcast episode. You can find all of our episodes for free wherever you listen to podcasts or by visiting invitehealth.com/podcast. Please make sure you subscribe. Please leave us a review. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Invite Health. The information on this episode is linked at the episode description, so let's get going. So there's about 2 ounces of phosphatidylserine in the human body, but half of that is in the brain. Now, your brain is only about 2 pounds, so it's dry weight. So it's a small percentage of the volume and weight of the human body. So it shows you how important phosphatidylserine is for the brain, that you need as much in the brain as in the rest of the body. By the way, in the rest of the body, phosphatidylserine is involved with brain, eye, nerve, muscle coordination, which is interesting because when they've done studies on sports figures, for instance, golfers, it's increased their tee-off accuracy. There's studies like that you give athletes a larger amount than you need for the brain. They gave them about 7 capsules a day, about 700 milligrams of phosphatidylserine a day, and it improved their physical performance. So it had to do with their brain, eye, nerve, muscle coordination because they're already highly trained and very physically fit. So phosphatidylserine is a very important component in your brain cell. It's called a phospholipid. It's in a phospholipid bilayer. So let's explain that. The outside of your cells is not hard. It's not a hard shell. It's a soft, malleable exterior. It's a soft, malleable exterior. And it's loaded with ingredients like vegetable oils and fish oils and certain vitamins and certain amino acids, and also these fatty phosphate group ingredients. And phosphatidylserine is on the inside of this lipid layer. There's 2 layers of lipids. Lipids are not exactly fats. They're fats mixed with other things like minerals and vitamins, etc., and amino acids. So you have these 2 lipid layers. An inner lipid layer of the membrane, of the cellular membrane, there's the phosphatidylserine, and its tail points out. And almost matching that is a second phospholipid called phosphatidylcholine. It's in the outer lipid layer, and their tails point at each other, and they create a vibration like millions of times per minute, which basically is the life of your brain cell. Now, it's very important for your brain cells to signal one another. In other words, for your brain cells to communicate. All of the things that come out of you are from your brain cells communicating with one another. It keeps the fluidity of the cell membrane. As phosphatidylserine levels drop with age and as fish oil levels drop with age in the brain cells, the outside membrane starts to stiffen. It's no good because it's not going to work. You need to be very fluid and malleable for these nerve impulses and electrical impulses to travel quickly around the cell and from cell to cell. So the phosphatidylserine gives the brain cell its youthfulness and the ability to communicate with other cells through the movement of electrons, the movement of energy. For the cells to survive, like if you get hit in the head, it helps give them the ability to absorb a shock. It keeps your aging brain cells flexible and fluid, and it allows nutrients to get into the cell. It makes the membrane of the cell, the coating of the cell, semi-permeable. So the brain cell allows nutrition and nutrients to come in, and it can expel toxins. So this is very important. So the phosphatidylserine communicates over what we call the synaptic junction to form memories. So let's explain what that is. So it's not just the outside of the brain cell that it's important to. It's also important for the brain cells to communicate with each other. Your brain cells are not connected. There's a very tiny microscopic space between them called the synaptic region. And they release chemicals. They have little pouches, little vesicles with different chemicals in it, like dopamine, norepinephrine, acetylcholine, etc., and they release the correct one at the correct time. For instance, to pay attention, they release norepinephrine. Let's say you go into a dark room, there's no light, you want to be careful and not bump your knee or hit your head. You release serotonin from these vesicles so that you're more careful, and you release dopamine to let you know, hey, I shouldn't be walking around in a dark room to begin with. I mean, that's how the brain works. So you need the phosphatidylserine to release these so that your brain cells can communicate both with their neurochemicals, they're called neurotransmitters, and with electrons, which is the electronic activity. The phosphatidylserine also works with nerve growth factor. This is important. It's called neurogenesis. That's to heal the brain and create new brain cells. There are certain parts of the brain that literally can create new brain cells at night when you go into deep sleep. It's called delta wave sleep. It's non-REM sleep. You're not dreaming. You're not moving. A lot of good things happen at that point at night. You're getting rid of toxins in the brain. You're shifting memories to locations where they're long-term out of short-term storage. You're building bone. You're getting the immune system ready for the next day. There's a lot going on in this deep sleep part of your sleep cycle. The sleep is in the cycle, a 2.5-hour cycle. We go in and out of different parts of sleep. So you release the nerve growth factors. For instance, at night when you go into deep sleep, you release brain-derived neurotrophic factor and other growth factors, and you literally stimulate the formation of new memory cells, which is pretty cool, huh? But you need phosphatidylserine for that to help. You also need phosphatidylserine to recycle mitochondria, to build mitochondria. Your mitochondria, your brain cells are loaded with these tiny power plants that convert basically sugar and oxygen into energy for the brain to work. I mean, this happens all over your body. All your cells use mitochondria to convert calories and oxygen into energy. But they get old and wrinkled as you age, just like your skin can get old and wrinkled. And the phosphatidylserine recycles them. It takes the old, spent mitochondria and converts it to new, young, functioning mitochondria, so your brain has plenty of energy even into late old age. Here's the problem. By the age of 30, your phosphatidylserine starts to decline in the membrane, and the membrane of your brain cell literally starts to stiffen. So this affects your ability to pay attention, your ability to focus, your ability to concentrate. This affects your mood. This affects your ability to learn something new. All of these things begin to suffer. So phosphatidylserine is needed for memory. It boosts the release of our brain chemicals required for quick, clear thinking. It's one of the most effective memory boosters known to science. Now, importantly, it's not in any food to any degree that we would eat. You're not eating brain tissue. That's not a good idea. You're not eating heart tissue and spleen, so you're not eating these organs. Not a good idea. Bad things could be passed on to you when you eat animal organs, so I don't eat organ meats. So phosphatidylserine has been shown to slow memory loss and even halt or reverse age-related cognitive decline and age-related memory decline. It's very important findings. And phosphatidylserine interacts with a component of fish oils or krill oil called DHA. Very important for the health of your brain cell. It protects your brain cells from damage. And it boosts the survival of your brain cells, your neurons in the brain. Unfortunately, both phosphatidylserine and DHA decline in the cells of the brain of people with Alzheimer's to a much greater degree than it does in the rest of the population. Researchers in Canada looked at brain samples supplied by the Aging and Memory Project. They found a significant difference in the constituents of patients with Alzheimer's disease or in patients with mild cognitive impairment. Mild cognitive impairment has been some brain shrinkage, but it's really affecting your ability to understand complex thoughts and complex direction. And also, unfortunately, it's a gateway into Alzheimer's for most people. So they found that healthy brain tissue had a great deal more DHA and phosphatidylserine. So phosphatidylserine helps restore brain functions that decline with age. It supplies neuroplasticity. So when you have a new experience. It could be just walking home in a different direction, in a different way. When you have a new experience, your neurons can make the connections to convert this to new memories. Importantly, phosphatidylserine reduces cortisol in the brain. That's one reason why phosphatidylserine is great for stress and also for sleep at night. Even though you're taking it in the daytime for your memory, at night you sleep better. Cortisol is a stress hormone. There's a bunch of them released from these little triangular glands that sit atop each kidney. They're called your adrenal glands. And you release it normally when you're in danger, but unfortunately, if you're under stress from work or financially or because of your health or something, you're releasing it all the time. And it has a lot of bad effects. It could squeeze your blood vessels and make your heart race. That can make your blood pressure go up. It could release sugar and your blood sugar goes up from its storage site. It's released and it goes up. But also it's damaging to the brain. It literally frays nerve endings in the brain. Oh, by the way, while it's also stomping on your immune system function, they found that phosphatidylserine reduces cortisol in your brain. And a good consequence of that is more clear-headedness, not damage to the nerve endings of your brain cells, the synaptic region we were talking about before where phosphatidylserine is very active. But also this way, when stress hormones keep you awake. They say, oh, you're in danger, stay awake. But you're really not. You're just worried about work or something. So when you lower the cortisol levels in the brain, you're able to sleep better that night again. They found that phosphatidylserine puts you in a better mood. It increases your alertness. It helps with brain fog. It helps with focus and concentration, your clarity of thought, your long-term memory. Who'd I take to the prom in high school? Your working memory, like how am I doing this? How do I apply this? Your verbal memory, your recall, your logic, your retention span, motivation, initiative, socializing. I usually use it for people with memory issues, people who are really stressed out, or young people with ADHD. That's who I usually use it for. So let's go to some studies on phosphatidylserine, and sometimes they use it in conjunction with fish oils, which that just makes sense. So here's a study from Japan. It's 78 elderly Japanese adults, but they have memory issues. They were between the age of 50 to 69. I'm always surprised that people in their 50s have memory issues. They gave them 300 milligrams of phosphatidylserine every day or placebo, a fake pill, for 6 months. You always take phosphatidylserine with food. It'll be absorbed better. And the phosphatidylserine significantly improved their memory. The scores in patients with the worst issues actually improved the most. The placebo had no effect. Placebo never has an effect on memory. Any of the studies I've seen, if a nutrient is going to help memory, it does it within the first 3 months. And placebo, never have I ever seen where it improves memory in people. So here's the journal Dementia and Geriatric Cognitive Disorders. It's Tel Aviv Sourasky Medical Center in Israel, their neurology department. These people, it's 157 people supplemented with phosphatidylserine and fish oil or placebo, fake pill, for 15 weeks. It improved their verbal recall, words, their immediate recall, significantly improved. Patients with intact brain function with relatively good cognitive performance at the start of the study had a real-world improvement in their brain power, in the brain function, in their ability to learn, and their ability to remember, and their ability to copy complex figures. So it really meant something. So what happened, the researchers felt bad because half of these people were put on placebo, a fake pill. They didn't get any help. So they did an extension of the study where everybody got phosphatidylserine. It's in the same journal, Dementia and Geriatric Cognitive Disorders. So it's an open-label extension of the larger study. 122 of the original people, but now all the people that were on the placebo are being given phosphatidylserine and DHA. DHA, once again, is one of the important fats you get out of a fish oil capsule for an additional 15 weeks. Same thing, a noteworthy improvement in different functions of the brain, like in the length of their attention span and their memory, and the patients formerly on placebo. So it really meant something. And that's like kind of strong evidence that the placebo didn't work in the first arm of the study, but the phosphatidylserine worked in both arms of the study. I mean, that's kind of powerful evidence. So the FDA, the American Food and Drug Administration, allows us to make a claim on phosphatidylserine and dementia. I don't make it. I don't put it on my labels. It's a weird claim. Well, the claim basically is there's some evidence that phosphatidylserine may reduce the risk of dementia in the elderly, but they want more evidence, and that's fine. There's never enough evidence. So here's the journal Genetic and Molecular Research. These are patients with Alzheimer's disease. The study takes place in a couple of academic research institutions in China. It's 60 people with Alzheimer's disease. In the hospital, they were split into two groups. One group got 300 milligrams of phosphatidylserine every day. The other group got placebo. And what they found in the Alzheimer's disease patients, their vocabulary improved. Their picture matching scores improved. Like, matching the word umbrella with a picture of an umbrella becomes very hard in these patients, but yet that improved. Moreover, the scores in the treated group was significantly greater than the control group. So not only did their scores improve, but they improved a lot. So it meant something. It's not a cure. These people still had Alzheimer's, but they hold on to their brain a little bit longer. That's what it comes down to. But if it can help them, imagine what it could do for you and me. So here's the journal Advanced Therapeutics. And once again, they're looking at phosphatidylserine, but also phosphatidic acid. I don't know why they bother with that. On memory and brain function and physical function and mood in elderly patients with Alzheimer's disease and other dementias. It's from researchers in Berlin, Germany. Giving the phosphatidylserine and a phosphatidic acid significantly improved memory when they compared before the study to after the study. And the patients with Alzheimer's disease, their daily function did not decline. In other words, if they were able to wash their face and dress on their own, they maintained that. But the people on placebo had a real serious decline. I mean, people with Alzheimer's disease, they can have a serious decline pretty quickly. So with the phosphatidylserine, there was only under a 4% deterioration, whereas in the people on the placebo, there was an 18% deterioration. 49% of the people on the phosphatidylserine, the patients with Alzheimer's, reported an improved general condition. So it means something. Here's how you take it. Phosphatidylserine, you need fish oils because they work together in the brain. And a better way to get it is krill oil, actually, because you get the other phosphatides in krill. You get phosphatidylethanolamine, phosphatidylinositol, and phosphatidylcholine in krill. And they work well with the phosphatidylserine for brain function. Plus, the krill has the two fish oils, and it has a powerful antioxidant called astaxanthin. And it also has choline. The choline's attached to phosphatides. That gets it into the brain easier, so you make acetylcholine for your memory. So you mix krill oil, because this is what I do. I take 2 krill oil every morning with breakfast and 3 phosphatidylserine. Great for the brain, great for an aging brain. I'm 67. My brain performs really at a high level. So you take 3 phosphatidylserine with your breakfast each morning, and you should see some improvement. So thank you for listening to our Invite Health podcast. You can find all of our episodes for free wherever you listen to podcasts, or just visit invitehealth.com/podcast. Please make sure you subscribe and please leave us a review. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Invite Health. I hope to see you another time on another episode of the Invite Health podcast, and thank you so much for listening.